What's up, guys? Bryan Lebo here with your Las Vegas market update video for April 2019. While we're going to cover the typical metrics like we always do, today I'm going to spend some time discussing the impact that perception plays on the housing market. But before we get into that, let's check out this month's market statistics. Okay, first up is last month's sales. Last month, we sold 2,418 homes. While this was a massive 36% jump over the dismal February we just had, keep in mind that sales are supposed to jump in spring, man. So don't get too excited about this jump. What's much more concerning is that this was an 18% decline in sales from last year. This marks 3 straight months in a row that sales have declined. Now, before you freak out, let me bring some perspective. We haven't seen this bad of a start to the year since 2014. In fact, that year, sales were down for every single month. But guess what? Despite crappy sales, the median price went up 15% that year. So just because sales are poor doesn't necessarily mean that pricing won't continue to increase. Speaking of increases, let's check in on the median price and see if we had another month of decreases or if we managed to crawl out of the hole that we dug in February. As you can see, last month we managed to increase, ironically, by the same $5,000 that we lost in February. So basically, we're right on par with the beginning of the year. Additionally, this puts us 8.5% above the median price this time last year. Okay, next let's check out our supply, or inventory if you will. As you can see on the screen, we ended the month with 7,372 homes on the market, for a monthly increase of just under 2%. Now, not a big deal, but compared to last year, this is actually double the inventory that we had. Now, on the bright side, our inventory has remained pretty stable for the past 5 months now. Okay, last but not least, let's check out our inventory breakdown. As you can see, we came in almost identical to last month, with 1.2% of the market being short sales, 1.5% as foreclosures, which leaves just over 97% of our market as normal or traditional sales. The only difference was a slight decline in short sales, which has been the typical trend as prices continue to increase over these years. Okay, now I want to go ahead and switch gears to discuss the market overall, and especially how perception plays a massive role here. Now, last week I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who retired early by essentially being exceptionally well at what he did. He worked on Wall Street and was incredibly good at predicting market behavior. Now, this led us into a conversation about what moves the real estate market and how you can actually predict that market movement. Now, there's a multitude of factors that can inflate a real estate market or deflate it. Now, you've got job creation versus unemployment. You have high interest rates versus low interest rates. You have overbuilding of communities versus scarcity. And then you have gentrification of underserviced areas. But what I want to focus on today is perception. While numerous factors can contribute to a rise or a fall of the housing market, ultimately it's perception that becomes the catalyst for immediate movement. Now, back in 2007, the market was showing severe signs of slowing down. Even though we as realtors could see these changes, all you read and heard at the time was how hot the market was. Then one morning, Pulte decided to slash prices in Alianti by a couple $100,000, and the entire market literally came to a screeching halt. Immediately, buyers became scared and said, you know what, I think we're going to wait a bit. From that very moment on, the entire market collapsed. Now, the reverse has been true for the past 8 years. Virtually this entire decade, all you've heard in the news is year after year of record price increases in the Las Vegas Valley. See, when buyers hear and read that prices are going up, there's a huge sense of urgency. Depending on the severity of increases and amount of inventory, there's times that buyers won't bat an eye to spend thousands over the list price because the fear of missing out and then having to pay even more down the road becomes a real fear. Well, after 8 straight years of positive real estate news, we're finally seeing a slowdown occur. What's truly important, however, is to discern between a forthcoming crash and merely a return to normalcy. See, it's not normal or healthy to see double-digit appreciation. Eventually, this has to come to an end. Either we increase too much, which requires an adjustment, or we simply slow down to a more acceptable and sustainable pace. Right now, what we're seeing is simply a return to normalcy. Some people are predicting a crash, but these are the same people that have been predicting a Wall Street crash for 5 years now. They're the same people who have been predicting a housing crash for the past 3 years now. Now, eventually, all these people will be right. But the question is, how many years will it take for them to eventually be right? Now, that's the question. While we all know that markets ebb and flow, what's vital to realize is that there's a brief moment when the market actually tips over. It's this very moment that truly means everything. This is the moment that I explain as perception. See, it doesn't really matter what the market is actually doing. What matters is what buyers think is happening. This year is a very crucial year for our housing market. We can easily go from a slowdown to a halt in a matter of months. As you saw earlier, our median price has been pretty unpredictable. We dropped $5,000 in February and then gained $5,000 back last month. So what do you think would have happened had we dropped $5,000 last month, then say another couple $1,000s this month? Suddenly the news media would change their stories to, "Some see a housing crash on the horizon." That moment, the moment that news travels, most buyers will immediately reconsider their options. Rather than be motivated to purchase a home, buyers will suddenly say, you know what, let's just rent for another year and wait to see what happens. Well, this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If everyone waits, then most certainly prices will drop because demand just decreased. The next phase is investors and sellers who are planning to sell in the future. Now, suddenly they flood the market with inventory. Now you have the worst case scenario. You have low demand and high supply. Once this happens, it's a very difficult cycle to get out of. This decade has been filled with hyper demand and little to no inventory. Now that builders have ramped up their supply and prices have risen so much, demand is starting to retract back to a normal state. You've got less investors, less second home buyers, and the advent of luxury apartment complexes have actually deterred millennials from purchasing homes and simply electing to just go ahead and rent instead for the quality of lifestyle. The actual truth is that metrics only tell one small part of the story. The median price can easily go up $10,000 next month, and your neighborhood might not go up $1. Over these past few years, it's been the low end of the market and the new home sales that show up on the MLS that has really boosted that median price that we look at. There's countless neighborhoods where prices have been flat for years, and some where prices are less today than they were even last summer. So to wrap up and avoid deep diving too much more, I truly do feel that our market is very stable. Resale homes have not recovered from the high set 13 years ago. Now, this should tell you very much about what's going on. Meanwhile, I still maintain that the most dangerous market segment right now are new homes. See, once we're fully back to a normal market, or God forbid we see a retraction in pricing, the premium pricing on these new homes could easily be over the threshold for more budget conscious and really conservative buyers out there. Remember, when prices are going up, no one even thinks or considers the fact that prices could ever go down. Now, when prices start going down, suddenly buyers become more value conscious about their money. When a 15-year-old home with a pool zoned for the exact same school is $300,000 less than a 2-year-old home with a dirt backyard, suddenly that newer home isn't quite as attractive as it once was. Well, that's it for this month, guys. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and have a fabulous April, everyone.